Hello children, today we shall talk about the revolutions which had happened in 1848. So dear children, there were so many series of revolutions which had happened in European countries, and one among them is the revolutions made by the liberals in 1848. So it is also called the February revolutions. So in my previous classes, dear children, we had learned that the 1848 revolutions that was made by the common peoples who were going through a very hard time, because there was a hardships, there was economic crisis, failure of crops, unemployment crisis. Due to all these factors, the common peoples, they came against the monarchy and they started revolting against the monarchy, because in those period, in those time, the monarchy was not at all in favor of the peoples. And due to that, they continuously came against the monarchy and they started the revolutions movements in 1848. So in 1848 revolutions that was started by the liberals, and when they started the revolutions in France during that time, there was several kind of changes which was happened in France. So dear children, here what are the major changes they brought with these February revolutions in 1848? Because already in my previous classes we have learned and we have discussed that during the time of monarchy, the monarchy was having absolute power, who was not at all giving priorities to the peoples. And here the peoples who are continuously suffering, the peoples are not having any kind of social privileges as well as social rights in the society. So in order to have social privileges and social rights in the society, the middle classes as well as the liberals, they started the February revolutions. So dear children, the liberal groups are the one who are giving importance to liberty, freedom, universal adult suffrage, so and so. So here, when this liberal people started the February revolutions in France in 1848, during that time, they brought several changes in France, and those changes are such as the monarchy, the constitutional monarchy, the Louis Philippe, who was removed from his positions, and at the same time, they brought the republic systems in the society. And according to republic systems, here the elected representatives are going to be elected by the peoples, and at the same times they given importance to voting rights, because in those times in France as well as in European country, those peoples were having more wealth and money. Those peoples were given voting rights. But with these revolutions made by the liberals in 1848, they given to demand that they must be given voting rights in the society, irrespective of having the financial status in the society. So apart from that, dear children, here we understood that when the revolutions was continuously happening in all European countries, we see several kind of changes which happens in some other parts, that is such as Hungarian areas. So dear children, when these February revolutions happens, then the peoples of Germany, the peoples of Austria, the peoples of Italy, the peoples of Poland, the peoples of Hungarian, they continuously begin to demand for the unifications of the nation states. At the same time, they begin to come towards the monarchy, continuously demands or continuously make the demands to have equality, to have liberty, to have freedom in the society. Because during the time of monarchy, dear children, already we have learned that there is no equality, there is no freedom, there is no liberty. So here the peoples, they began to realize that we do not want to tolerate the atrocities which are happening in the nations. They want to bring several changes in the society, and all these movements are started by the liberal groups here. And here the peoples, they are continuously saying that they do not want to tolerate the atrocities, the injustice, these discriminations which are happening during the time of monarchy. Because during the time of monarchy, the peoples are not given any kind of social rights and privileges in which they are inspired by the French society to start the revolutions in Germany as well as in Italy, Poland, Austria, Hungarian, in all these areas. Because here the peoples are greatly inspired with the ideologies of French society. Because in France, the liberal groups, they started the February revolutions, and with having these February revolutions, they made remove the monarchy, and they brought several changes in the society. And with the great inspirations in those areas, we see the liberal groups, they are continuously making these revolutions in Germany, Italy, as well as in Austrian. And when they are making the revolutions in all this area, they started to think very differently. They began to have a different kind of ideologies in the society according to their plans and their structures. They also want to make republic systems in Germany, Poland, in Hungarian regions, as well as in Italy areas. Because here during the time of monarchy, the peoples, they are not at all having any kind of privileges which are given to these noble groups as well as to the first estates and second estates. So dear children, due to these lack of opportunities given to the common peoples, here there is a formations of political association, formations of different kind of social groups coming towards the monarchy, and they are started revolting against in Germany as well as in Italy, in Austria and Poland. So dear children, as the peoples, they continuously demand for the constitutions, demand to have the freedom of press, the freedom of associations. As also we see in German regions, there were many liberal groups who formed the political associations, and after forming the political associations, they came towards the Frankfurt Parliament, and they made proposals to vote for the German National Assembly. And initially on 18th May 1848, we see the 831 elected representatives, they marched towards the processions and went to the Frankfurt Parliaments, which is there in the Church of St. Paul, and there they drafted the constitutions for the whole Germany, and they began to say that they do not want to be under the control of absolute monarchy, because monarchy is having more authority power in the society, and he is not at all giving more focus for the goods of the society, and that is the reasons they want to limit the powers of the monarchy, and they want to give more importance to the elected representatives, as well as they want to give more importance to the parliamentary form of government, where the monarchy will be the nominal head and the decisions will be made by the parliaments. So with having all kind of demands, they came towards the kings, the Frederick William IV, and when they came towards the king Frederick William IV and given a proposals for a parliamentary form of government, and they said that the kings will become the nominal head of the nations. During that time, the Frederick William IV, the king of Prussia, he did not want to be under the control of this parliamentary form of government, rather than he rejected that. I don't want to be a constitutions for the nations, rather than I want to be a absolute monarch of the nations. And in order to suppress the movements of these liberal groups, he joined the other kings which is nearby him, and he formed the associations, took the helps of the feudal lords, took the help of the aristocracy, and he began to form the associations. And after forming the associations, they become very stronger, and they rejected the ideas of these liberal groups who came to Germany in 1848 to limit the powers of the monarchy. And when they came to us with having great associations here, the liberal groups were become very weak, and with the powers of these conservative groups, the kings as well as the aristocracy, they successfully disbanded the parliament, cancelled the 831 elected representatives in France, and which we see that the Frederick William IV, who became very successful in suppress the movements of the liberals who came into being in 1848. And this movement was started by the middle classes, the businessmen, the professors, the teachers, the merchants. All they came in order to limit the powers of the monarchy, and with having the associations with other kings as well as with other aristocracy and landlords. Here, the Prussia King Frederick William IV, who was successfully suppressed the movements led by the liberals in 1848. So dear children, as I was telling you that the liberal groups who formed the associations, who made the elected representatives and went to the Frankfurt parliaments to limit the powers of the monarchy, but the monarchy, King Frederick William IV, who was successfully suppressed the movements here. So dear children, as they made the proposals and sent to us the King Frederick William IV, the King of Prussia, and already I have told you that they drafted the constitutions, made the universal adult suffrage, and they said that the kings are going to be the nominal head of the nations, and the parliament will become the supreme powers of the nations. When all these proposals were sent to King Frederick William IV, who is the King of Prussia during that time, already I have told you and discussed with you that he made the associations with other kings in European countries, joins the hands of the aristocracy, join the hands of the landlords, form the associations, and they disband the parliaments which was made in Germany. They cancel the parliament, and they successfully cancels the unifications which was making in Germany during the period of 1848. So dear children, here we understood that the King of Prussia, the Frederick William IV, who was successfully suppressed the movements led by the liberal groups in 1848 to limit the powers of the monarchy. So here the powerful kings known as Frederick William IV, who successfully suppressed the movements of these liberal that was started in 1848. After that, we see the issues of the women in those regions, in those European areas. In Germany, we see the role of the women who started the political associations because their rights were not given. Their political rights were very controversial. So in order to get the political as well as the equal rights in the society, the large women, they formed the associations, they founded the newspaper, they made the political meetings, they made the demonstrations, and they started going towards the Frankfurt parliaments in order to get their equal rights in the society. In spite of having the political demonstrations also, their rights were denied in the society. So when their rights were denied with having strong political associations, dear children, we understood that they became very nervous, or they were very unhappy with the systems in these European countries. So dear children, here we understood that the liberals who continuously initiating all these movements in order to make the national unifications. So here successfully the conservatives as well as the kings of European nations, they suppressed the movements of these liberal groups who were continuously trying to make the national unifications. In spite, though they were successful in suppressing the movements of these liberal groups, but they were not able to restore the past glory of the kings, as well as not able to restore the past order of the monarchy. So in many regions of these European nations, we see that the kings as well as the emperor, they realize that the liberals groups are going to come and to come, they are going to come again and again and to have the revolutions movements. So if we are going to grant the concessions to them, the political associations as well as the revolutions movements will not be there in the society. So in order to give some concessions to these liberals, we see in Hungarian regions there was concessions given to the Hungarian peoples. The ruler who given autonomy status to the peoples of Hungarians. So here the rulers of Hungarian, he cancelled the serfdom, abolished the bonded labor. So here most of the conservative ruler, they began to realize that we need to hear the plea as well as the demands of the liberal groups. And initially in Hungarian area as well as in Central Europe areas, in Eastern Europe areas, they begin to grant some concessions to these liberal groups so that the liberal groups will not be coming towards the kings to fight for the rights in the society. So dear children, here we understood that during all this period between 1830 to 1848, there were more number of revolutions that was made in European countries. So here the peoples are continuously fighting towards the monarchy. They are fighting towards the monarchy in order to get equality, in order to limit the powers of monarchy, because during the time of monarchy there is atrocity, there is discriminations, there is no equality. So in order to enjoy all these social privileges, we see the formations of political associations, public meetings, then political demonstrations which are happening in European country. So here we understood that due to lack of social privileges in the society, the common peoples, the middle class, they are beginning to question the status of the aristocracy. They are beginning to question the powers of the monarchy, because they begin to understood that now is the time to make the nation state. Now it's the time to form the constitutions. Now it's the time to have these people's sovereignty. So when they understood their social privileges in the society, they begin to question the powers of the monarchy, and they begin to form the associations and made the revolutions in European societies. So dear children, so these are all nationalism movements which are started by the liberal groups in order to get liberty, freedom in the society. So due to lack of all social opportunities, equal opportunities, they started the revolutions movements in European country. So my dear children, I think you all have understood the concepts. So thank you so much for listening to me.